Well, build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance. Hello and welcome to Longbangers Week at Hibs in association with Lee Spirits. Am I?
Hello, I'm Colin.
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
Good to visit.
Oh, I'm
John.
Hi, John.
Right, just before we get stuck into the episode, we just wanted to express our condolences to the family and friends of Freddie White. Many of our listeners will know Freddie from Twitter or from his time on Hibs.net as the Cat. Freddie was a big Hibs fan, sadly passed away overnight. So from everybody here at the podcast, we just want to send our best wishes on to Freddie's friends and family. Such a kind of sad thing to have to go through, and he was a good lad, a good friend of the podcast as well. So moving on from for that, Colin, you've got some news from us, not about Hibs though.
No, it's not. It's actually this Motherwell statement, I think, came out yesterday about their decision. Now, I've not seen their decision on the telly. I don't know if you guys have, but their statement is along the kind of lines of what I was thinking when I was talking about writing a letter and all that. I don't know. Have you guys seen this statement?
I've seen the statement and I've seen the incidents as well.
Incident as well. Oh, right. Okay. Well, we can talk about that. But it's no. I think the statement's not too long, but it kind of gets to the point because no too long is kind of one of my things. I would have
short enough for you to read.
If I can help the guy in any way, or get off who wrote it, put me a bullet points, right? Drive the attention towards that and make it look like there's less words. But what they've done is like they've quoted the rule, right? And says, here's the rule. There's one way it went, and there's another way it went, both against our favour. And that's how I seen our letter going and that going. Here's the fucking 10 things that happened this month, and there's your examples. For and against. They're the exact same. Tell me how they're different. Pretty much is what they're saying, and that's what I liked about it. I don't think they did name the refs, and then cup winning legend referee's name is in there as well, funnily enough. But it's not about hounding the refs. It's about saying, what's the fucking rules here? Like, what game are we playing? And to be honest, I read some of the comments on it, but it's the usual. Like you see the usual stuff. Other clubs going, fuck you, sort of thing. But I think, as I said when we were talking about it, I think it's really important that they acknowledge that maybe isn't it just us? Now we've maybe got more examples than them. They've only gave the one. Maybe they chose to just go with that one. I don't know. But instead of dismissing it like that, if everybody just does the siege mentality thing and thinks it's just us that's got the problem here, then you'll just get batted away with what about it. But when there's more examples like this, it's kind of, to me, shows a maybe a problem with refereeing, with the application of VAR, with the application of the rules through VAR, or with it, or every other cunt's understanding of the rules. Because I think I was reading a thread in Hibs.net on VAR earlier on, and I'm reading it going, maybe guess what the rule is. Like, and I'm not saying I do, by the way. I admit it, I don't know the rules. But I don't know the rules because nobody's telling me or educating me on the rules. But the referees sit there and go, these can't get the rules. But then they go and do something that contradicts the rule they've applied. And I don't know what I'm trying to say. But that's what I took for the statement. And it's almost I'd rather quote, I stood with them rather than what about it. And I'm not saying this for everything, because look at Shanklin taking his dive the other day, and then they appealed that, and he didn't get overturned. Didn't get extended either for frivolous. But
how did that happen then?
No, it was just a yellow card. It was just a yellow card. You never had a ban.
Because you got a ban, but you should get a ban then if you have a frivolous appeal of a yellow card.
Well, I suppose you just lose the money, yeah. Like,
do you think they should upgrade it from a yellow to a red if it's frivolous? More time to be taking the piss.
I was just when I said it because nobody ever gets frivolous. Shinnie got one last year, so Shinnie, Aberdeen,
Porteous got it.
They've never had it.
See, on the Motherwell statement, one of the things that I clocked in earlier on was the position that pretty much they said we've spoken to every cunt and nobody wants VAR. That was always, it's like we've no found anybody, like any of the key stakeholders in the game, whether it's supporters, players, I don't know if they talk to referees, sponsors, the TV companies, whoever, that are saying VAR's improved the game in Scotland. And I would say that's a fair comment. Like that, as much as they were complaining about the decisions, and I agree with you, Colin, that it probably would be good if everybody went like their reasonable assessments of what happened and why they've got a complaint, rather than saying, well, you got one in your favour, so shut up. But the wider point about VAR now, I was an advocate of VAR coming in. Like I genuinely thought, wrongly, that it would be like really transparent, really obvious that folk are, when a wrong decision happened, it would be the anomaly. Like it wouldn't be something you'd be talking about every week. It'd be.
I definitely said that on here.
Now and again, it would happen because folk have got the time to sit and look at it, but it's visible, and we all get to see. Like after the game, you can. It's no, well, the referee just had one look at it, as we've said before, or he's not had a very good angle, and it's happened fast. And the fact that it's every week, and there's other clubs, it's not just Hibs, there's other clubs that are able to point to examples of real inconsistencies in decision making for the referees. If it's not getting you the right decisions and it's not improving the experience for anybody, so what's the point in it?
I agree, and they're so I've got a point on that, I think. But do you want me to read that bit out? It says the feedback received from our own fans on VAR is almost entirely negative, and if given a choice, we believe most would vote to no longer have it in use. It's actually not easy to find anyone who either participates in football or watches it who's happy with the current position. We look forward to the output of the review. But that comes back to my point, though. Like, it's meant to aid the decision-making process.
Yeah.
And they are using it and then still saying a decision's wrong or they're right or whatever, right? Is that because they know a rule that we don't? Do we not understand it? Because every other sport that I watch that's got VAR, and there's others that I don't watch that have got it, I don't hear these complaints. And I know football's bigger, right? But rugby, I watch a bit of cricket, and I've seen there's other sports I've seen. The other two that I remember I watched most, the Aussie rules in that, I think, as well. I think I might be talking shit. I can't remember, but there's definitely rugby and cricket. And nobody ever really complains. Like they get it wrong now and again, but it is the anomaly.
Yeah.
Majority of the time, even in rugby, they talk you through, rugby league as well, they talk you through, well, this is what I see, this is what I think happened. And they work as a team, but we've still got this hierarchy thing in football where the referee's got to make the call, so then he gets into that situation he did at Tynecastle where he's gone, well, that boy got a pat in the back for sticking his decision last week, so I better stick with this one. Right, because he's thinking it's all on me. It's no, you're a team. There's fucking 40s at the ground. There's 3 of them sitting in that cabin, in the M8. Like, how can you not work as a team? Why have you got to, why has he got to dictate everything? Why can somebody say, come on, Billy, you fucked that up? And they could speak to each other, you've made a cunt of that, by the way. Change it. And they didn't, because that's how normal people. If we were sitting in a bar studio and you were on the pitch, and me and John were sitting in the studio, we going, fuck's sake, how the fuck did you come to that? And they would change, and you would but it's like they've got but it's like they've not got that. They're not allowed to speak to each other like in that way. It's very head teachery or hierarchical. But anyway.
I get it goes back to how it used to be with referees and linesmen as well. You'd have some referees that would tell the linesman not make a decision until he'd done it.
Put your flag up to tell you.
Things like that.
And then you get fans got, but then right. So that's the thing. I've said that before at the football, because folk will go, "Put his fucking flag up," and you're like, maybe the rest tell them not to. And that's the thing. We don't fucking know. Like nobody tells us. So everybody then starts thinking that there's something against them and the world against them, when actually it's the way they've decided to run the show.
What do you think, John?
I'm curious how many more clubs will come out with statements like Motherwell. So I think Dundee maybe started it, and then Hibs have been a little bit more vocal recently because there was that flurry of decisions throughout. Was it February? I think, Colin, you rattled off a bunch that had all happened within the 1 month.
Right. Yeah.
and now you've got Motherwell making a a very concise statement about what they see as a misapplication of the rules. So I think there was separate. I want to say there was separate referees involved, but I can't remember if the referees were mentioned in that statement. But like you say, they've quoted the rule. They've got the two separate incidents. And you made a point before about the referees basically refereeing the game whichever way they want, almost because the average punter in the stand doesn't understand the rules, or isn't aware of the rules, which leads you to ask, well, what the fuck are the referees doing then?
That I know, but that probably sounds a bit. I mean, I include myself in that, but it's also I don't think it's that they don't understand it. I think there's that big a grey area in the rules that they can deem it whatever way they want.
Aye.
It's like they're talking about handballs, and that guy was saying no, it's deliberate, because his arm was out. But then they're
Aye.
his arm was out, and it's not deliberate, and he'll go. But the referees always, and that's what I was saying. Mind that I used the example of the Aberdeen penalty on Longbangers, not one of these, but when I said I was kind of before it had been overturned. Apologise for, sorry, that I was kind of going doing their checklist, the excuses
Yeah.
why they wouldn't
Yeah.
give it. I'm going, right, so he's come for a distance, there's nobody in front of him, he's got his arm sticking out. I'm thinking, what reason are they going to give for not giving that? Because that's usually what they've got. They'll make something up, and so you store all the reasons back up. Next time you see one, you go, we didn't get one because
Yeah.
it hit off the defender's knee or something on the way up, or whatever the
I
reason
wonder.
that day is.
It,
But they
it
don't
does.
educate us.
It doesn't help either with the handball one, where there's a different threshold for a defender than there is for the attacker. So like a defender to give away a penalty has to have that kind of arm out, making their body bigger. But if it's an attacker, if it hits their arm at all, whether they've meant it or no, if it's grazed it, it's automatically a handball. And it doesn't count.
It sounds like something that Colin suggested before with regards to the offside about having to change the rules. So it's out from things that we've discussed on the podcast. There's so much subjectivity that allows different referees and different games and different sets of circumstances to go, well, we'll just make it up. Well, it gives the impression that they're just making it up as they go along. So you need to simplify the rule that says if it hits your hand, that's it. It's a foul, it's a penalty, it's whatever.
Got to be more black and white.
Aye.
But I think they could work together better. Like they definitely could, and they're in danger of running into another refereeing thing. But they could educate us better. They could apply the rules more consistently. They could work together as a team. They could, as I say, they could educate us. But
How do you mentioned before about there's 4 folk in the pitch and then there's 3 folk in a cabin. How do you work together in that scenario when the rules are subjective? Is it majority wins? 5 of them say you made a cunt of that, so you need to change it.
So the referee still has the ultimate decision because he's in charge of the game, or she, right? So you still have that sort of key person making the decision, but it needs to be I think a more open and equal conversation to arrive at that decision. So where they're saying, no, just we think you might have made a mistake, go and have a look. They need to be saying, here's why we think you've made a mistake, and then if you're sticking with it, go and tell us why you're sticking with it, because we need to justify it.
I don't know if fans create that culture to an extent as well, where they don't want so again, I watch rugby more. This is my second most watched sport, right? And if a referee's not seen it, he'll just say he's touch judges. I didn't see it. Did you see it? And then he'll go up to the boy and say, I didn't see it, mate. You need to tell me what happened. Stick on the screen, right? And that's how they do it in football. They guess because they didn't want to be seen to say I never saw it, because somebody will go, yeah, right, fuck it, I didn't even look at it. You know what I mean? And that's the reaction the crowd would give.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that difference exists towards the referees and their honesty between the two sports?
I don't know if it's honesty. I think it is honesty, but it's probably driven by the culture of the fan as well, to an extent, because we're always thinking that the world's against us. So we're always looking for. He turned a blind eye there, but we see that, and we've got the referee as the sole decision maker, whereas in other sports it's a team game. Like cricket's got the 2 umpires with the 3rd umpire on the telly, right? That's how it. Like, so the main man's the one at the end that's making the decision in cricket, but they can work when the decision's being reviewed. They can chat to each other about it and come to a. I seen it this way. I saw it for this angle. football. It's all about the one guy. Although,
So do we need
is
to
this bad
remove
in other
that?
leagues? Is another thing you could say? Well, is other leagues as bad? Is it just because we're living it? Because other leagues, I don't know if they're as bad as like this, but then I don't pay attention to other leagues.
Aye. I
Is
think
that, sorry, Mike, I was just going to say, is that one of the possible solutions to go back to the point that you made before about like the ultimate man in charge on the pitch, the referee? Do we need to remove that and go to a more rugby-based officiating system
the
where it's a
on-field referee
collective?
in rugby still has the ultimate responsibility call. Is that right? He's still the one that says that's that's the
Aye,
decision.
aye, but it can be overruled as well, though. Like
Can
the
he?
guy in the TV studio can say you're wrong, but then he'd then see it and agree with it.
Aye.
But he would, but just like the guy on the telly screen, whereas in football they can still go to the telly screen and go, nah, it's all right, I'll stick with my decision.
But
Whereas in,
that's a thing that we don't do in football as well, isn't it? Like Hibs have got the big screens at Easter Road, but you don't see the game, like the referee doesn't get to see those
not
game
like
altering
it.
incidents because they're not allowed to. But that would presumably help them.
That would
Well,
probably help the fans as well. Can you imagine
Help
if
the fan and help fans.
but you're not allowed.
we see it in the stadium once and then you're going, oh, that's a fucking disgrace. Imagine the amount of times that it going up. Like I've referred to this one before. We played Dundee United one night and Dundee United got a penalty and it was the worst decision I've ever fucking seen. And I was
Yeah.
calling the referee for all sorts. I was right fucking in line with it, and then got home, watched the highlights, and it was a stone waller. Like the clearest penalty you've ever seen. I was like, how could I have got that so wrong? Because I was
And that's,
convinced.
well, how many times you been at a game and went, that's a fucking mile offside, that's a disgrace, and then you text somebody that's in the house watching on the telly and they go, oh, he's fucking yards over.
Aye.
He's away far fairly, and you're like,
So you
hell. But
you
they're
put
not
it on the
allowed
big.
to,
I know, but it's stupid. Just
because
let us see it
it's
as well.
because football, it's because of the culture, like the way football fans are treated. It's the same thing. It's all linked into that. It's like because the first I would mind going to Hampden and you had the big screens when nobody else had big screens, and you think they wouldn't show you. You'd see like a red card offence or what you thought was a red card offence, and they wouldn't replay it on the screen. But the game was playing the whole time. But as
Aye.
soon as the game stopped, the screen will start the adverts and that. Because if you saw a replay something, even I didn't even care if they should replay the goals back then. They do Easter Road now, but only for us. But
The
it's like
controversial incidents they didn't show.
does that right.
Aye. Yeah.
Aye.
Shite
Rather than
bags.
actually, it might have the other effect where you go, actually, fucking hell, what was he doing there?
Aye.
Kind of, the only thing of the negative, whereas it could actually calm everybody down a bit. I think it's massive education, but like I do.
I think that would help. I wonder if it would also help if, like Aberdeen had come out with that statement after that game, rather than Motherwell to say, right, we were the beneficiaries of those decisions, but we agree with Motherwell that they've got a right for a grievance there. Or
They're both against Aberdeen at the games.
I think so.
So it was both Motherwell decisions and Aberdeen games.
I think so.
Going
It was
opposite
in the
ways.
same. Yeah, it was in the same game.
No, they used an example for
Oh,
the end of last year.
another one as well. So they did.
October. Aye.
Right. I don't know if they were both against Aberdeen then. But if you had a team who's not just been on the wrong end of it, coming out and supporting the team that's been shafted, I think it's that bit of it. Folk just that would do away with the what about it, because then you're going, well, hold on, you've gained out of it, and you're still saying this isn't good enough. I think that would help as well.
That goes back to something that Colin said before with regards to rugby and football fans. In rugby, I think you said you're more interested in the right decision, but in football, it's more about your team getting the decision.
Right.
So, and I think that's are we more interested in better officiating at the football? Or are we more interested in things going our
Well,
way?
we just want more decisions that are wrong for us. That's the that's what we're after. It was Eamon Brophy. It was Eamon Brophy, Ross County.
Right.
That was the other example. Just to clear that up for Aberdeen.
Okay, let's move on. John, what have you got for us?
Jordan Obita signs a new 2-year contract, taking his time at Hibs up to at least 30th of June 2026. What are your thoughts on his extended deal?
I'm pleased with it. Yeah, I'm pleased with it. He's done well this season. He'll be in the short list for Player of the Year. Probably favourite to win it, in reality. Good signing. Eventually took on the left back role for Lewis Stevenson, which hasn't been easy for anybody over the years. And He scores goals. He puts crosses in. He's a decent defender. He stepped in the centre half, done a good job. What age is he?
30.
Oh, he's only 30. That's
30.
all right then. I thought he was maybe pushing toward his mid, 33, something like that, and we were signing him till the end of his career pretty much. But no, that's pretty. I'm pretty happy with that signing. Experienced player.
Is he like you said, like probably a key candidate for Player of the Year? Why?
He's been the best player.
Do you think?
But who has been?
Well, I don't know. Good question.
Is it? Do you know? It's funny. You mentioned Obita knocking Lewis Stevens out of the left back slot, and I think in previous years when Hibs haven't been particularly good, when it's come to the Player of the Year, I think Stevenson's won it 2 or 3 times, and I wonder if it's because in this not quite so good season we'll just get to the left back again.
Possibly. It's not that. It's because he's been consistent, and I suppose he's consistently been like 7, 8 out of 10, right? And we've not had that 20-goal season striker. We've not got the attacking midfielder. These are the guys that grab the attention, aren't they? The guy that creates all the goals or the guy who scores all the goals. We've not had that this season.
But he was like obviously he started his time with a bit of an injury. He was in and out of the team a wee bit to begin with, and it's only like fairly recently that he's been nailed on left back.
I don't know. Is it? Is it really?
I don't know. Maybe need to go and check, but like, because Stevenson played left back for even into Monty's time, but I reckon if that was just because of Obita's injury, because I seem to remember being on the bench a couple of times before he came back into the team. Listen, I think he's been good, but the reason I asked about it is because when I noticed the Obita was I properly noticed him was the derby at Tynecastle, where he was immense. Like he was terrific in that game, and he did first half, second half. Anyways, for the Hibs fans, and he did that sort of. Do you know when the attacker's trying to get the ball and the defender shields it out, like Will Fish tried and mucked up when he was playing at right back. And Obita kind of did it, but he was so much stronger than the player, and he gave the boy a bit of shoving, and he G'd up the Hibs fans, and everyone was going, "Fucking yes!" And Obita was brilliant that night, and it was after that he started hearing him getting talked about for Player of the Year.
Oh,
and it
really?
was just,
I've definitely said it before that on here.
Do you think? Well,
Aye.
we could go. I'm not going to go and check. Somebody could.
Somebody could
check, but I'm not going to. But that was probably the turning point for me because I was like, "Fucking, this boy's doing well," and he definitely came into conversation more after. I'm not saying he wasn't good before that, but I think that was like a defining moment for him.
When I start playing for Hibs, right, I will definitely be doing that stuff because folk love all that shit. Like, look, Marconde's well, and it doesn't matter who shit he's played in some of the games. If he goes like that, and then when he get to the fans, everyone's like, "Yes, I love this boy. Look at his, I love his man bun." You know what I mean? It's like not about the football all the time.
It's why you chase a lost cause, isn't it?
Could we get our listeners to message in, to tweet us, whatever, and let us know when they started thinking about when Obita started getting those plaudits? Because, like you mentioned the derby there, Matty, and I'd mentioned in previous episodes that at the beginning of the season I wasn't sure that if he was that much of an upgrade on Stevenson, because as much as he could get better balls in the box, defensively I wasn't too convinced. And for me, the bit where the seed was planted for the Player of the Year nomination was when he played at centre half.
Yeah,
I think against Rangers.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly when that was, but he definitely stuck out in that game as well. Like from a defensive point of view, and I don't know whether there's justification in suggesting that seeing his ability as a centre half in an unfamiliar position, you actually got to see more of his defensive qualities when he started moving out to his preferred position.
It's a really good shout because he was terrific that night, out of position, but I think he got man of the match, didn't he? Which is a contrast to his next game against Rangers where he conceded a penalty and got sent off.
He struggled that night.
I had a nightmare that night. But
I jinxed him. That was my fault because I'd said he's playing really well and he'll beat him. The next thing he was like fucking hacking folk and dropping short passes back and that.
I would only play devil's advocate really with the questions. Just curious because of that derby, but was when I noticed him. But I think
it's a good point. But
I think he's absolutely right that he's in contention for the Player of the Year. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him get it.
If not if not Jordan Obita, taking him out of the equation entirely based on what you've seen to date, who would be your player of the year so far?
Joe Newell. Newell, or you could be looking at Melida, who's come in and is already joint top scorer, I think, with Lafondre, and he's only played since January. So if he keeps his form up to the end of the season, he could be one of these late runners that comes in. Because I don't think either of the centre halves are getting it. The goalkeeper's definitely not getting it. As good as Marshall has been recently, I don't think he's player of the season candidate. So then
That's
you're
where
looking
I'm
at.
going with it. Yeah, as well. Like Obita's been a consistent player all season. Whereas there is, and Newell's been fairly consistent. There's been games he's dropped in and out, and I think he's struggled sometimes with their partner in midfield or formation in midfield or whatever it is. But you're running out of people because you've not got that 20 goal person or that Scott Allen that's picking defences apart. I think that's why you would make it a left back. But it's point to do with left back a few times.
It's interesting that we've done the business now with it as well, because I don't think he wasn't on a 1 year deal. It's an extension to a contract that already had a bit of time left to run on it. There's obviously like talk of bigger budgets and everything now with the Bill Foley money coming in. So he's obviously impressed enough that we've gone, let's make sure we didn't lose him. And that's a position that we didn't have to think about for a couple of seasons now. Okay, right. Last bit of news to finish up on. It's not really that much news, but just like a kind of quirk of last night's fixture with Hibs playing Raith for Lewis Vaughan's testimonial. Hibs won 5-1. And the thing that stood out for me, the Hibs scorers were Hanlon and Stevenson, Jair, Josh McDonald, and Ruben McAllister scored a cracking free kick. And it was just what I wanted to flag was just that sort of contrast between the two players who are, I think, fair to say, near the very, very end of their Hibs careers, and Stevenson and Hanlon, and then the new guard kind of coming through. So you've got the two scorers there. I think Josh McDonald is still only 15, I think I read, which is incredible. You know, he probably wasn't born when Stevenson made his debut.
Did I do that? I still find it bizarre when I go to Hibs games, because there's just this thing. I don't know what it is within my head, but despite the fact that I'm 41 now, I still think of the guys on the football pitch as being older than me for some reason. So the fact that you've got situations like I've been watching Stevenson at Hibs pretty much, well, for his entire career. When was it he made his debut? Was it about 2006, 2007? Maybe earlier.
Yeah, right about just before 2007, wouldn't it? Because he was breaking the team for the cup final then.
And you've got a guy playing that was born in 2009. That's just bizarre for me.
I'm sure I saw, it might be Sean McPartland that tweeted about there was X number of players that were born after Stevenson and made their debut, and I think somebody else was born after he won the cup in 2007 as well, which is just mental to think. This is really kind of curtains for Stevenson and Hanlon now, isn't it? You would have to think, John.
Well, Stevenson, we mentioned it before with regards to Obita, that there's been many pretenders to the throne, and so far Obita is the only one that's managed to keep him out of the squad for any particular length of time. The only other one, I think, was Josh Doig. But Montgomery was saying after the game, and I don't know whether this was just paper speak or whether it was reflective of what was actually going on at the training centre in the dressing room and what have you, that Stevenson's frustrated at not getting game time. And I think, like, I know it was a testimonial. I know that it, like, I wasn't there, but so I'm going to assume that it wasn't played at 100 mile an hour, fully competitive game. Nobody wanted to get injured. But Stevenson still popped up with his customary doesn't he score shite goals goal.
It was a peach, wasn't it?
Aye.
Was
so
it?
Aye.
So
if you get the opportunity,
left foot volley for the corner of the box.
Straight in, deflected.
Aye, go straight in.
Does it score shite goals? Like, we've had that conversation.
I'm still adamant that he's never scored a shite goal for Hibs. They've all been.
I'm out when he has.
I think his good ones outweigh his bad ones. Like,
So Stevenson's now what I think 35, approaching 36, and like I know we've laughed about it, and that that he could play forever, but he absolutely will not play forever. And I
no,
think with the suggestion this year, I think is he out of contract
yes,
along with
yeah,
Hanlon.
yeah, both out of contract this season.
So I think you might see that customary drop down the league if he's still got that determination and he still feels like he's fit enough to keep playing. I remember an interview with him a few years back where he said that it takes him a little longer now to recover after games, but otherwise, like he's never had a serious injury. He had that one injury that affected his Achilles, and then his first game back for Hibs, he played the full 120 minutes. Like he's just an absolute machine, and I do have a lot of respect for him as a player, but I think the time will come, and if it was going to come, it might be now because Obita's getting game time ahead of him, and I don't know if he's going to accept being a backup.
Why do you think all the players that they gave lifetime contracts to, he wasn't one of them?
I think just because he was still a wee bit younger than the other ones that got him. But I think he definitely would have. I think if the Dempster and that regime was still there, they definitely would have been on the cards. I don't think they would have been of the view that you would let somebody like Stevenson or Hanlon walk out the door without trying to keep them in some capacity at the club as they did with McGregor and Gray.
Aye, although we always group them together, but Hanlon's still got a couple of years left. He'll be one to play. Like Stevenson's getting to the age where he's maybe thinking about going into a coaching role or something. Hanlon's still 33 or something, isn't he? 32.
I don't think Hanlon will be here next season either. Like
no, but he might have to leave to go and play. But Stevenson could. I mean, if they were to say to him, "Got you a job here with the, age group, under 18 development team, whatever one it is," because that's what they gave McGregor. That's what they've got Gray and his assistant. Who was the other one?
Hanlon's 34, Colin.
Is he? I thought he was younger than that.
January 1990.
Okay, centre half. You can play till you're a bit older than that. You didn't rely on as much pace and all that.
Yeah. No substitute for experience, as they say. Yeah. I'd be interested to see. Would you either of you be offering them another contract for next season?
Oh, I didn't ask that question.
Particularly you, John. Would you? And how would you have the conversation if you're not?
It's that harsh manager conversation, isn't it? I didn't see as part of my plans, and I think that's what the conversation will be like with Hanlon. As much as I think he's a good player, the evidence suggests that, like, despite his recent illness that kept him out of the team, Bashiri's come back after a month away where he's not played at the African Nations, and he's been straight back in the side. So that suggests that Hanlon's not part of Montgomery's long-term plans.
Mm. It's a harsh reality of football, isn't it? What were you calling? Would you be offering a contract either?
I don't know what the situation is with the youngsters coming through, but if we've got keeping Stevenson for longer is harming Alexi McIntyre or someone being on the bench and getting minutes when Obita's no fit or unavailable or rotating or whatever, then I wouldn't. But if there is no obvious alternative, I wouldn't see him give another year either.
Enough. Okay, right. On that note, we'll call it a night. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. If you're hearing this on what's today's date, the 21st or the 22nd, then thanks very much for subscribing. If you're hearing this on the 28th, get yourself a subscription. You'll have heard this when it was relevant. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee. I don't drink water, no, you know what I mean.